because you've given her life-giving words. There's power in the words that we speak to ourselves and the words that we speak to people. And because words they create. Words are creative forces. God just only had to say, let there be light, and there was light. You can sit there and say, I will never amount to anything. Indeed, you are right, because what a man thinketh, so is he. You will never amount to anything. You're very right. No one can even confuse you, because these are the words that you are confessing. It's the law of attraction.
Welcome back, guys. I trust you've been staying safe. So you just had a glimpse of the beautiful mind of young, vivacious, outgoing model Karabo Mokoena from South Africa. Now, this was a woman who, even at the tender age of 22 years old, showed great prospects as a gender advocate and a motivational speaker alongside her professional modeling job and advocacy prowess as well. So you could see that this lady was on a trajectory to make a huge impact as far as helping people be their best selves were concerned. But then, her life would come to a screeching halt when she would be found murdered, and eventually it would be revealed that it was none other than her own boyfriend, a very successful FX trader also in South Africa. This is one of the crimes that shook South Africa to its core and exposed the canker that the country is dealing with as far as gender-based violence is concerned. It became one of the reference points of any gender-based violence conversation in South Africa and even on the African continent as well. If you are ready for this true crime story, just buckle up and let's go. Now, before we get into the details of today's story, kindly go to the comment section and type "Stop Femicide" in the comment section. This is a campaign that we have initiated to add to the drive and the advocacy to stop femicide that is currently on the rise globally. Research has shown that the rate at which femicide is increasing worldwide is very alarming, and even back here in Ghana, West Africa to be precise, I still see femicide happening in various and diverse forms. And having been a true crimes channel for some time, I see it happening in several of the true crime cases that you would see online. My playlist is even evidence of same. Let's do our bit. Let's be in the comment section and just type "Stop Femicide." This is a campaign we are going to do, and there will be a section in every video that we put out to drive this advocacy. Thanks for your support. Don't forget to also hit the subscribe button and help push this advocacy out there. Now, let's get into the video. So, Karabo Mokoena was a budding, vivacious young lady, and right from the get-go, upon meeting her, you would see that she had this vibrant personality which always warmed its way into the hearts of people that met her. It was as though you are fortunate to have met this lady because she will leave an impression on you. You would see that she's very open, she's confident, she believes in herself and she knows her worth, and she's not afraid to speak her mind but do so very respectfully. So imagine the joy being the parents of such a lady would bring. And that is exactly what her family felt. People were happy to even associate with Karabo. Now, at the age of 22, Karabo would have her whole life change after she met her boyfriend. And this man was by the name Sandile Mantsoe. Now, Karabo and Sandile had been in a romantic relationship, but this relationship was spanned for about 2 years prior to the climax, which is the subject of today's video. And in these 2 years, their relationship will be described as a very turbulent one with some on and off issues here and there, which some people would think are normal for most relationships of today, but I don't agree. And also some good times, surprisingly. Now, Sandile would end up taking the life of Karabo. But like I always say, before you get to understand why somebody did what they did, it is always important to try and go to their genesis or their origin story or their roots to see what you can learn about them. Then it gives you a better perspective of what they were thinking or what drove them to do what they did. That is not to say it would be an excuse or it will condone whatever they did. So, per our investigations, prior to committing one of the most heinous crimes that South Africa had ever seen, Sandile Mantsoe was a well-to-do forex trader. Now, this guy was doing so awesomely well, and he was very popular in South Africa as far as FX trade was concerned. He was born in the year 1990, and he grew up in the town of Mbalenhi, which was located in the Mpumalanga province. He attended school in nearby Secunda, which is another township in Mpumalanga. And then from there, he completed his studies at the Highveld Park High School in 2007. It is not known whether Sandile Mantsoe holds a university degree or not, but one thing is for sure, that he was quite well-to-do financially. Now, we took a look at his social media accounts and it confirmed that he is always impeccably turned out as a young man, and you see him, exuding in confidence, style, and swag. So, he obviously had various flashy cars, and he resided in Sandton, which is one of the affluent municipalities located in the Gauteng province and regarded as the richest square mile in Africa. I hope the picture of Sandile is actually forming for you. This is a man who also had a background, which if you met him, you would see that this guy would also leave an impression on you. Now, the source of Sandile Mantsoe's wealth is ostensibly his forex trading company, and this company was called the $1 Trillion Legacy. And when he is not working, you would see Sandile Mantsoe, who was obviously someone who enjoyed a robust relationship with ladies, having a good time with a lot of ladies. So it's not surprising that he had 2 children with his former wife and had also welcomed a daughter with his just exited ex-girlfriend by name Nonlana Dlamini. So this guy, obviously, as it comes with most successful men, you will see that most of them would have ladies around them. Some would come naturally as gold diggers, and some would also be invited to be around him by himself, thinking that, per his affluence, it's one of the perks that comes with it. But I think that is something that is wrong. You don't have to objectify women just because you seem to have some wealth. If it's the other way around, I know most men wouldn't like that, if not all. Now, Sandile was a confident young man, and he had a robust relationship with the ladies. So by 2015, he was dating a lady named Nonlana Dlamini, who would become his exited girlfriend later. Their romance encountered some issues, and he broke up with her around 2016. And it was at this point that he commenced a relationship with Karabo Mokoena. Now, according to Karabo's sister, she and a friend of hers were with Karabo when they ran into Sandile Mantsoe for the first time. Her sister and Sandile immediately clicked and commenced a relationship without further ado. So, the origin story between Sandile and Karabo was one of love at first sight, per the account of Karabo's own sister. Now, their romance initially flourished, and Karabo was passionately in love with Sandile. But then, they however started encountering several issues as he became physically abusive with her. This caused them to break up on several occasions, but they always got back together. Now, I don't understand, honestly, why the physical abuse should come in. Nothing condones it, but I see a pattern per per their origin stories, which would bring the relationship most likely to a head or to a tipping point where egos may set in from either side, given that Karabo is a very outspoken woman, confident in herself, believes in who she is and her worth, and wouldn't want to allow herself to be dictated to by a man who is equally confident and very well to do financially, and seems to believe that because of his wealth, he should have the final say. You see what is happening here? And I think per this, Sandile will most likely be in the wrong in most of the times, because the fact that you are rich does not mean that you get the chance to flout free speech or democracy, or you get the chance to other people around. So these are some of the things that I feel or I believe could be the root causes of some of the challenges that they were having with their issues. But the toxicity was of course noticed by Karabo's family, and they advised her to leave Sandile as he may end up killing her. Take note of this advice, because it will turn out it became a prophecy that actually came to pass. Despite the warnings from Karabo's family, she still continued her relationship with Sandile, and Sandile also continued his abusive ways, to the point that at a point Karabo actually landed in the hospital on her birthday in March 2017 with bruises on her eye, shoulder, and leg. The young lady informed her sister but refused to go home so as not to alarm her parents. She, however, promised her sister that she will retrieve her things from Sandile's place and stay away from him. Karabo Mokoena probably did this for a few weeks, but she and Sandile reconciled as usual and recommenced their romance before she disappeared around the 27th of April in 2017. So you see where we've gotten to now. The advocate, the woman empowerment advocate, is suddenly caught up in an abusive relationship, and it's beginning to look like it's becoming impossible for her to free herself out of it, or, to be fair, to actually get out of it, because it's not clear whether she was trying to get out of it and maybe she was being forced to stay within it. But this confirms that some things are easier said than done. That is how come when people try to blame victims of such situations, I get very upset with them and I take it quite personally, because it's one thing reading the theory, but it's another thing for the person actually caught up in such relationships to come out of it. I believe it takes a lot of support from families and friends and well-meaning people, and most importantly, the law. So it's not that easy. There were people who were criticizing Karabo when this issue came up, that as an advocate, she should have walked the talk, she should have done what she's been advocating for. But hey, it's not that easy. Everybody needs that support, and I don't want to blame her family or her friends or whichever form of support system was around her for what happened to her. I'm just saying that don't be quick to blame her, because it's not that easy. So it continued, and eventually she would end up disappearing on the 27th of April 2017. Now, Karabo's family was the first to notice her disappearance, and once they did, they began to frantically search for her. And of course, the first person they would confront on this was none other than her boyfriend, Sandile Mantsoe. But Sandile denied knowing her whereabouts and stated that she had likely checked into a hotel. With this response, Karabo's family continued with their search, but they later went back to confront Sandile after a friend of Karabo's actually told them that she had been seen in Sandton recently. Sandile once more denied that he had been with Karabo, and instead stated that he had seen her hanging out in a Lamborghini with her supposed Nigerian boyfriend. this is another twist to the story because you are Karabo's boyfriend that the family knows. So why are you saying that if she can't be found, then they should check with a so-called Nigerian boyfriend of hers who uses a Lamborghini? Then what are you? Karabo's family would report to the police from this point that she was missing. So their report to the police was on the 28th of April, and they circulated her photos on social media as well, seeking and hoping that somebody from the public would have a tip that would help them. So based on this, they still had hope that they will find her alive, but that hope sadly was dashed on the 29th of April when a passerby discovered Karabo's charred remains in a ditch in Lyndhurst, Gauteng province. Medical examinations and investigations revealed that Karabo had been assaulted and 60% of her organs removed before her body was doused in acid. A tire was also placed around her before her corpse was eventually set on fire. This is gruesome, actually, and I always wonder how people can be this wicked. To an extent, I believe almost everybody gets angry and or upset, for a lack of a better word, and some people may vent, some people may be quiet, but to go to the extent of physically hurting someone, emotionally tormenting somebody, taking their life, and going steps further to dig out their organs, burn them in acid, burn them with fire. I wonder how such people come back at the end of the day after committing these crimes and return to bed and they just sleep and wake up as if nothing has happened and they move on with their lives. That is what happened in this case. So when this grim discovery was made, Sandile Mantsoe became a prime suspect immediately, obviously, because if you don't know, if you are dating somebody or you are married to somebody, if they end up being found dead, you, that partner, are going to be the first possible suspect in most instances, and you would have to be cleared as part of the investigation before they would consider other suspects most likely. When he was confronted, Sandile initially denied having a hand in his girlfriend's death, but then he later changed his story after CCTV footage emerged showing him dragging a large bin out of his apartment on the night that Karabo disappeared. Sandile stated that Karabo had committed suicide in his apartment after he told her that he no longer wanted to date her. So this cannot be confirmed. That is what he is saying, but you and I were not there, and investigators also found it difficult to confirm this. And according to Sandile, from this point, he therefore had no choice but to dispose of her body, as he knew he would be blamed for her death. This I don't agree with him on. I believe that the forensics of the police service are very good, to the point that if it's a suicide, they should be in a position to determine it. So why then do you go to the extent of dousing it in acid, burning the body? That is more about somebody who wants to not just hide a dead body, but hide something done to the dead body. Don't forget, the pathology test indicated that over 60% of Karabo's internal organs were missing. These are my analysis. I'm not saying they are facts. Now, despite his denials, Sandile Mantsoe was eventually charged to court with the murder of his former girlfriend, Karabo Mokoena. His trial lasted for several months, during which the prosecution tendered several pieces of evidence, including the damning CCTV footage. They also invited several witnesses, including Karabo's sister. In his defense, Sandile Mantsoe also had a few witnesses, including his baby mama, his just exited ex, Nonlana Dlamini. Now, this ex described Mantsoe as a very good man who had been quite supportive of her throughout her pregnancy. She also revealed that his support continued even when they broke up. Now, I'm wondering what form of support she's talking about here, but I'm suspecting it will be financial support. Don't forget, this guy is already very rich, so trying to defend him for a murder charge based on how much money he's been giving you as his ex and a baby mama of his, I think it doesn't hold much water. Sandile Mantsoe also gave a lengthy testimony in which he painted his former girlfriend in a bad light. According to him, Karabo was actually a violent person who was addicted to high life. She kept several boyfriends, and a pal of one of those boyfriends later raped her. This made her angry and depressed, and she sought refuge in his home. According to him, while Karabo was in his home, he informed her that he was breaking up with her and left the apartment. But then he came back later to discover that she had committed suicide, and he then disposed of her body to avoid being blamed for a crime that he did not commit. Open-mindedness here, objectivity here. Let's analyze this. It could actually be true. I'm not saying it is, it was never proven this is true, but there's a possibility it could have been true. But then the courts didn't really buy it. So Sandile's story could not have swayed people easily because, his story could have actually swayed people, like I said, but the prosecution also made their case a very strong one. And eventually, Sandile was found guilty in May 2018 and sentenced to over 30 years imprisonment for the murder of Karabo Mokoena. He was also handed 5 years jail terms for assault and 4 years for attempting to defeat or obstruct the course of justice. But then some of these sentences were to run concurrently, so it meant that cumulatively, Sandile Mantsoe was effectively going to serve 32 years in prison. Sandile at that point indicated that he intended to appeal to the court, but then he is yet to do so. So that's the case at hand. He's currently still in jail, and there has become even a different version of this issue coming up, or an extension of his torment coming up, so to speak, because just recently, as a year ago in 2022, Sandile Mantsoe had another case brought up against him of committing financial fraud against some public service staff as part of his FX trading business. That case is still ongoing, but this is how the beautiful life of Karabo Mokoena, a feminine advocate, a woman support advocate, a motivational speaker, a professional model, a beautiful daughter, and a gem to her country was cut short because somebody perpetrated femicide against her. Per the courts, it's Sandile Mantsoe. But per my analysis, this is my view. Per my analysis, I think there was probably more to this because at a point, Sandile would actually pass some few comments about they being in a blood covenant and whatever. Those things didn't fly. But my suspicion is based on the fact that about 60% of the organs of Karabo were found missing. Where did these organs go? If it was just about a crime of passion leading to murder and Sandile wanting to sort of dispose of the body, then they would have found her burnt like they did, but her organs would have been intact. So why the need to have her organs removed? Who removed these organs and what were they removed for? These are questions that were left seemingly unanswered per the investigation. I don't know if there's a deeper level of it out there that will come out later, but these are questions I had lingering in my mind. Where were the 60% of the internal organs that were unaccounted for, and who is responsible for taking them out of her? This is so gruesome as it is, and I just feel so sad that such a beautiful life had to come to an end like this. But that is how cruel the world is. There are monsters living with us. And I wish her family the strength to move on from this, because I don't know how they are able to wake up every day knowing that Karabo isn't with them any longer. But the family has also, in conjunction with other well-meaning stakeholders, set up a Karabo Mokoena Foundation to help women come out of being victims of femicide and empower women on various trajectories. I think that is a beautiful legacy to support. So that is how it goes. What do you think about this true crime story? Do you think Sandile actually did it? And if he did, do you think there's more to this story than investigations unfolded? What do you think about the 60% of her internal organs not being accounted for? And what are your views on femicide? What do you think is contributing to it? What do you think is the way forward to eradicate femicide from this globe? Leave your comments in the comment section. Subscribe to the channel if you are yet to do so. Hit the notification button. Share with people. Let's push this advocacy out there and help save our women. And like I always say, keep an eye out and stay safe out there. We'll catch you next time.